So I wanted to reflect a little bit on a story that I think has a deep Dharma message, but past experience here has shown me that many of you are not familiar with this story. So I'm going to start by sharing it and then unpack it a little bit. And after I share the story, there's going to be a little bit of a quiz. So pay attention. Not quite a pop quiz. So the story is a 1985 American children's picture book called If You Give a Mouse a Cookie by Laura Numeroff and illustrated by Felicia Bond. And so written in 1985, it received a lot of awards right away, such as from Alabama, California, Colorado, Georgia, Nevada, and Ohio. So a lot of really just widely acclaimed. First Ladies Laura Bush and Michelle Obama have both referenced this book or read it. So it seems like this is kind of universal appeal. So the pictures are really beautiful and an important part of it, but I wasn't able to get a physical copy of the book, so instead I will be doing my best to act it out. So, if you give a mouse a cookie, he's going to ask for a glass of milk. When you give him the milk, he'll probably ask you for a straw. When he's finished, he'll ask for a napkin. Then he'll want to look in a mirror to make sure he doesn't have a milk mustache. Okay, there you go. When he looks in the mirror, he might notice that his hair needs a trim. So he'll probably ask for a pair of scissors. When he's finished giving himself a trim, he'll want a broom to sweep up. He'll start sweeping. He might even get carried away and sweep every room in the house. Right. He may even end up washing the floors as well. When he's done, he'll probably want to take a nap. You'll have to fix a little box for him with a pillow and a blanket. He'll crawl in, make himself comfortable, and fluff the pillow a few times. He'll probably ask you to read him a story. So you'll read him one from one of your books, and he'll ask to see the pictures. Aww. When he looks at the pictures, he'll get so excited. He'll want to draw one of his own. He'll ask for paper and crayons. He'll draw a picture. When the picture is finished, he'll want to sign his name with a pen. Then he'll want to hang his picture on your refrigerator. Use your imagination and pretend this is a refrigerator. I didn't bring that one out with me. He'll hang up, which means he'll need Scotch tape. He'll hang up his drawing and stand back to look at it. Looking at the refrigerator will remind him that he's thirsty. He'll ask for a glass of milk. And chances are, if he asks for a glass of milk, he's going to want a cookie to go with it. So, ready for the quiz? I won't do it full think, pair, share style for the sake of time, but take a moment and reflect to yourself, what is the message or the lesson in this story, keeping in mind that it's for kindergarten, early elementary school students. So take a moment and think to yourself in a few words, what is this story teaching?
Hospitality.
Oh, don't yell it out. Haven't you been in school? Okay. So now it's going to be poll style. And I have a couple of options here. And so raise your hand if this is more or less what you were thinking. And maybe there's going to be more than one that really resonates with you. So raise your hand if you think this story was about generosity. Okay, what about entitlement? Okay. couple there. Cause and effect. Okay, a few. Economics, such as learning about wants, goods, and services. Okay, none. What about complex philosophical topics such as determinism and free will? Okay, no one in this room. What about self-sufficiency versus dependency? Okay, some. Altruism. Or it's about a slippery slope. Okay, a couple. So the reason I bring this up is that, this is a story that was certainly part of my childhood, and it's something that I've been thinking about recently. And here at the Abbey, we practice something called nonviolent communication. And one of the first steps of that is really trying to make a bare observation. What are the facts of a situation that we would all agree in? So all of us in the room kind of saw the same thing, and yet we came up with very different ideas of what this story was actually about. And it's not just us, we're not special. I was looking online actually a little bit for what do other people think this story is about? And one institution, which is all about teaching philosophy to children, describes this story as each event that occurs makes the mouse want something new, creating a seemingly endless stream of demands. That was their understanding of the story. There was an article written in 2015 in Entertainment Weekly by a millennial about how this story, it really explains everything wrong with millennials. I'm a millennial too. And so this article described it, mentioned that if you must blame millennial entitlement on anything, blame it on how we were raised to believe that we could get a cookie and dare to ask for milk too. Then I have two Washington Post articles. They really like this apparently. One from 2015 describes this as an ironic warning about the consequences of altruism. The title of this article is "One of America's Most Popular Children's Book Has a Secret Political Message," and says that some people would read the book and say, boy, if you give a mouse a cookie, you're just creating huge dependency, and before you know it, he'll be taking a nap in your bed. And then a 2020 article that's actually about kind of cascading medical tests describes this as a cautionary tale about the downstream consequences of a single seemingly innocuous decision. You gave the mouse the cookie. Naturally, he wanted a glass of milk to go with it. Before long, the mouse was moving in and sharing your Netflix password. They didn't update the story. There isn't a version where that happens. So these different people look at the story and take away a really different message from it. Perhaps reassuringly, most of the teachers' materials out there focus more on teaching cause and effect, right? So when many of us read this story or hear this story or had it read to us when we were little, we maybe took away some different things. So in my own mind, I'm in that camp of thinking this is about a slippery slope. And I don't necessarily know if it was explained to me that way or how I absorbed that, but I saw this come up later when I was teaching, actually, that sometimes well-meaning senior teachers would give advice and be like, well, don't give out extra credit, because once you give out some extra credit, they'll just ask for extra credit all the time. Or my favorite, when I was a teaching assistant, there was this page-long instruction on how to turn in your homework, the type of paper it had to be on, how you had to fold it. This is university, how you write everything on it. I thought it was ridiculous. And the professor said, well, if you don't specify this, they're going to turn it in on sticky notes. So there's this interesting aspect of the influence of others here, where if everyone around you has this attitude of suspicion, expecting people to have demands, to make demands, well, then you're going to start hearing demands. If the people around you expect to be taken advantage of, well, you're going to see people and systems being taken advantage of. And an interesting part of this is, again, what are we paying attention to? So many of these articles were talking about how the mouse was making demands. And actually, this cookie was originally given to him. Like, the mouse didn't even ask for the cookie. And of the 12 things that the mouse did ask for, if you really look at the story, it's this might happen. Probably this will happen. It's not a quote from the mouse. So this is even us imagining into the future that if I do this one nice thing, there's going to be this slippery slope cascade of all of these demands, when the poor little mouse didn't actually demand anything. So we think we're hearing these demands when poor mouse didn't even make a request, and we're not paying attention to the fact that the mouse also cleaned the whole house and gave us a lovely piece of art. So we're focused on the taking that the mouse was doing, we think, not necessarily the giving. And the other thing that I thought was an interesting lesson from this story, and one that I hope that some parents out there or teachers might share, is that we always have that opportunity to really compassionately say no. If the story was, if you give a mouse a cookie, the mouse asks for another cookie. And if you give the mouse that cookie, the mouse asks for another cookie. At a certain point, you hope that the child in the story says, no, mouse, you're going to have diabetes. Please don't eat any more cookies. And so that this is an important lesson, that had the little child in the story at one point needed to go to school or not have what the mouse was asking for, it would have been completely reasonable to say no. You know, I'm sorry I don't have crayons, but would colored pencils work? Or I'm sorry I need to go and do some other things now. Do you want to come with me, or do you have someone else's house you can go to? So it's important for us to both see that when we're looking at others and what requests they're making to us, that we remember that we have the option to say no. I know this is something that I'm working on a lot in my mind right now, that I do enjoy being generous and really helping people and assisting. But then once I get to that point where I'm actually beyond my capacity, or I really can't, that, okay, I say no, but is there anger in my mind? Am I frustrated about saying no? And somehow I make, in my mind, it's the other person's fault. But it's not. They simply made a request. Why would they know what my capacity is? Why would they know if I have milk in the fridge or not? So really, that's for me something I'm working on right now, is saying, okay, you know, the requests come, the mouse would like to do something. I can just say, no, no, mouse, I don't have crayons. Sorry, I need to go to work, whatever the situation is, and that's fine. And keeping all of these things in mind, again, this idea that they're not demands, that we can focus on the positive, that lets us really practice that open-hearted generosity. Instead of reading the story and being like, oh, it's a slippery slope, look at all of those demands. Instead saying, wow, look at the kindness of that child who is really trying to be kind to the mouse, be generous, help the mouse, take care of the mouse, and maybe in the end would say, no, mouse, no more cookies for you, you know, let's go outside and play. So as we go through our day, let's keep in mind these stories that we've picked up from others, that we've been told, how much they influence what we see in terms of what people are asking for, what we even think they might ask for in the future. And let's keep ourselves from being closed to generosity by thinking that any time we help someone or offer a gift or whatever it may be, that it's somehow a slippery slope of them taking everything from us. It isn't necessarily going to be. Most of us haven't had that experience. We've just heard that story. And even if things get a little out of control, we always have that option to say no so that we can keep our minds balanced to continue practicing generosity.